What's going on, everyone? So, LeBron James was at the Cleveland Cavaliers game not too long ago, and it caused obviously this uproar, this stir of like, why is LeBron there? What is going on? Right. And ultimately, it boiled down to like, hey, he's visiting his mom for Mother's Day, wanted to catch the game. He's already in town. So he went to go check out the game. Him and Rich Paul even alerted and let the Lakers know, like, hey, don't panic, don't freak out. We're going to the Cavs game because the last time LeBron went to a Cavs game, when he had right before he had a decision to make, he ended up being a Cleveland Cavalier again. And of course, he knew that there was going to be all this speculation and chaos, right? Rich Paul knew that's why they contacted the Lakers. But I've talked about, like, even when this first happened, I addressed and I said, more likely than not, it's probably just pretty straightforward. He's in Cleveland, probably family, friends, things like that, but just catching the game. However, I don't believe LeBron didn't do anything while he was there, right? Like, LeBron just showed up, didn't say hi to anybody, didn't, have some conversations. Like, you gotta imagine he's at least, talking to Donovan Mitchell and, hint, hint, wink, wink type thing, scouting some of these guys. And reports have come out that that many believe LeBron James was there to actually scout and kind of get a good look at Darius Garland. Now, Darius Garland is a clutch client, Rich Paul, and there's a lot of talks that if Donovan Mitchell opts in and decides to do a contract extension with the Cleveland Cavaliers, that Darius Garland is going to request a trade and he is going to ask out. And you're talking about a 24-year-old all-star caliber type guy. I think a lot of people, because I've talked about Darius Garland recently, and I think a lot of people forget how good he was before Donovan Mitchell. Now, I'm not saying he was some like super duper star, top 5 player in the league or anything like that, but he was on his way to be, maybe potentially one of the premier guards in this league. I mean, that all-star season, he was averaging like 22 and 9. He was playing excellent defense. I mean, even this year, he had a like 115 defensive rating. Like, he's good on both sides of the basketball. And he was looking like a guy that could actually lead your organization from the point guard position. Now, is he the best player on a championship team? Probably not, but he doesn't have to be, right? And the idea is like you bring him in, he's young, he could be a piece to pair alongside Anthony Davis for now in the future, play alongside LeBron James. Obviously, there are some questions of how well would he play alongside LeBron, right? Because, he's had his struggles playing alongside Donovan Mitchell. However, would LeBron be kind of more willing to take a back seat and do stuff at least through the course of the regular season? Obviously, in big moments and whatnot, you're probably going to have LeBron James with the ball in his hands. But, can Darius Garland and LeBron kind of make it work? Darius Garland did have some success playing off ball. And, I don't think it would be this like terrible fit. And then when LeBron retires, it's like, here's the keys, young man, take off, right? And he's young enough to where, if LeBron sticks around for 2 years, he's still only 26, 27. And, him and Anthony Davis, you put the right pieces around those guys, maybe they could make some noise. Now, obviously, I'm still personally in the camp of like going and getting a Donovan Mitchell. And I do think the Lakers, that'll be their biggest priority. However, Donovan Mitchell, he's not as cut and dry going to be a Laker as it may seem or people want it to be, right? Now, there is a lot of talk of like, hey, it's going to be either the Knicks or the Lakers. Like, if the Knicks want him, the Knicks will have him. If the Knicks don't want him, then he's probably going to push his way to the Lakers. And there have been reports that like, hey, there's optimism. The Cavs believe that they can get an extension done. You've seen Donovan Mitchell talk about how he loves Cleveland and all that stuff, but you keep hearing the murmurs that like that's just kind of the PC answer, right? Like, that's just, you see it all the time. Like, what is he supposed to say? Nah, Cleveland is a bunch of bums, get me out of here. Like, I hate it here. No, like he's not gonna belittle or talk unfondly about Cleveland, right? Like, there was even talks about like, oh, he was bothered by players on the team and all that stuff, and he came out and defended the players and all that. Right? It's just what he does. I mean, he did the same thing in Utah, right? Like, people forget, like, he didn't demand or force a trade from Utah. It was just kind of like this general understanding of like, okay, we're going to go in a different direction, right? So I think it'll be a similar thing. I don't think Donovan Mitchell's going to go demand a trade, like get me out of here. I think what'll happen is the Cavs will offer him an extension. He's going to say, I appreciate it, but no, thank you. And now both parties are kind of aware, like, okay, we're going to have to move off of him, right? I don't think he's going to need to go in there and kick the door in and be like, oh, you need to get me out of here. I'm done. Like, it's not going to be anything in that regard. However, when it comes to Donovan Mitchell, it depends on, like, how much does he push for the Lakers? Right? If he is basically like, let's say the Knicks are like, hey, Donovan, we love you, but, we're going to go a different direction. Then, if he's like, okay, then I want to go to the Lakers, then he'll be a Laker. He'll end up being with the Lakers because he has a ton of power, because no team is going to give up a bunch of assets to go acquire Donovan Mitchell, to rent him for a year, to then go and him just walk and go be a Laker, right? Like, the teams aren't going to do that, right? However, if he's kind of like, hey, like, I wouldn't mind Miami, I wouldn't mind Brooklyn, I wouldn't mind, some of these other teams, then now that becomes an issue. And now that becomes something where it's like, okay, well, I don't know if we're going to be able to land Donovan Mitchell. Now, it's still always a possibility. It depends on how much other teams are, and it depends on how, like, high he is on the other teams. Because, like, even if he's open to going to other teams, that doesn't mean he doesn't have his preferred destination, right? Like, you saw Kevin Durant. Like, Kevin Durant, he wanted to go to Phoenix, but he had a list of, I think there was like 3 or 4 teams that he would be okay with or comfortable going to. Ultimately, he ended up going to Phoenix because that was his preferred destination, and a lot of teams were kind of like reluctant to go and take him because they were like, we don't want to take him, and then a year later, he's demanding a trade, right? So I do think if there is this like push of like, hey, he's okay going to Miami, he's okay going to these places, but there's not a chance, there's not a guarantee that you can keep him, then I think that would scare off some teams, right? I think some teams might go, we don't really want to risk it. Do we really want to sell the farm, go get Donovan Mitchell, and then we run the risk of him leaving, right? So any team that trades for him is going to get the assurance that, like, hey, he's sticking around, he's going to sign a new contract, and you're going to keep him for the long haul, right? But if the Lakers do end up missing out on Donovan Mitchell, and let's say, he's like, hey, I wouldn't mind going to Miami, because I do think Miami makes a ton of sense for him too, right? I think Bam and Jimmy Butler, I think, would be a perfect pair, trio, and I just think Donovan Mitchell would be great in Miami too. Like, there's definitely other teams besides the Lakers that I think, he makes a ton of sense, but he's the guy that I want. Like, if I had my way, he would be a Laker, personally. I know some people are kind of on the fence on it, but, I just think he solves a lot of the Lakers' issues. And then now they kind of got their guy for now and the future alongside Anthony Davis. And, you start putting the other pieces to the puzzle. But if you do miss out on Donovan Mitchell, you're going to need to look elsewhere. Now, obviously, there's the Trae Young. There is the DeJounte Murray, who I like DeJounte Murray. But let's say, what if DeJounte ends up going to the Spurs? Right? And it's like, okay, well, Trae, what if they end up wanting to keep Trae or something, right? Like, to me, Darius Garland, like he's not my preferred guy. Like, I think I would be stoked if the Lakers ended up getting him. Like, I think he's very talented. I think he's a very good player. And I think that he could kind of get back to being what he was projected and looking like he was going to be when he was with Cleveland. I think he, especially if you get the right coach, I think he should be allowed to kind of have the freedoms. Does he have his flaws? Is he a perfect player? Absolutely, right? Like, no, he's not a perfect player, but he absolutely has his flaws. And there are questions and whatnot, right? His rim finishing is definitely something that needs to be improved and whatnot, but he also would have guys like LeBron to help him work through those things, right? Like, I mean, look at what he was able to do for Rui Hachimura. That was a big question with Rui. And Rui, I mean, well, in the playoffs, he had troubles finishing, but during the regular season, he was excellent. So, like, Darius Garland, his biggest probably flaw is like he's explosive. He can get to the rim, but he's in like the 35 percentile amongst point guards at finishing. He finishes at 57% at the rim, which is not great, right? So you need that to be kind of a little higher of a percentage. But again, if you're got the right pieces around him, you got the right mentors, you got the right kind of development guys, I do think he's a guy that could really take some strides and maybe make some noise. But again, I I'm not huge on Trae Young. Like, I don't necessarily, like, I have my questions about the fit. If the Lakers land Trae, I'll be pumped. We'll talk about it. It'll be great. We'll see how it goes type thing. But, if it's Trae or Darius Garland, you go get Trae. Like, Trae's the better player, right? You go get the better player and you try to figure it out. Right? And Trae and Anthony Davis, long term, post the LeBron era, just it would be a better duo. And you're going to end up, eventually, you're going to end up paying Darius Garland what Trae Young's making right now anyway. So, you might as well get it out of the way now, and then now you kind of put it together. But, if all else fails and we're not able to get, say a Trae or a Donovan Mitchell or anything like that, like, I think you could do worse than Darius Garland. Now, there is the argument of like a DeJounte Murray or a Darius Garland. Now, for the now, like today, I would rather have DeJounte Murray, right? I just think DeJounte Murray, he's bigger, he's a little more dynamic, especially if he's allowed to play the role that he is best at. He's just more mature in the, he's more experienced, right? He's more seasoned, he's weathered, he's been in the league longer, he's older. So I do think that, like, if I had to pick, like, hey, which of the two would you have today? I would probably go with DeJounte Murray. But I think long term, right, and the better upside, I think, is Darius Garland. I think Darius Garland has more upside. I think his ceiling is higher because he's 3 years, 4 years younger. And again, he kind of got hindered and had to take a major step back when Donovan Mitchell came, right? So post LeBron, what does that look like? And then also, I just think, he's younger, so you'd have him longer, right? Where, LeBron sticks around for 3 years. Darius Garland, like I said, is 27, and DeJounte Murray, he's 30, right? There's a difference there. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea of Darius Garland on the Lakers? Do you think LeBron was potentially scouting Darius Garland? Again, just reporting the news, talking about it. How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.